Alright, with the latest news hitting Wayfinder, a lot of you are worried about the future of the game, and rightfully so. However, today we're going to go over some stuff which should put your mind at ease and remind you that the game is actually going to be fine. First of all, we just got an amazing update that gave a 300% XP buff to all XP gains in the game, which has been incredible to level alt characters and weapons. They also then just released the Reaver King mid-season event and patch. Now if you haven't jumped into the game for a while, this means that we got 4 new main quests to continue the story of Wayfinder, 3 new side quests, 4 brand new craftable weapons, 2 new hunts which are a very fun challenge and I'm sure all of you will enjoy them, and a few other improvements to the game overall. Then of course after this update hit, that's when we got the news about Digital Extremes firing their staff and closing down their publishing division, which then set everyone off with thoughts that the game is doomed. Now both Solid and Snarf did 2 separate AMAs on the Wayfinder public Discord the other day, so some of you might have missed what they said, but before we jump into that, I do want to remind you that Airship Syndicate really doesn't need Digital Extremes to keep Wayfinder alive and healthy in the future. We are talking about a company that made one of the best turn-based RPG games out there for Riot Games after all. If you haven't played Ruined King, a League of Legends story, then go and check that game out because it really is something special. Now back to Wayfinder specifically, Solid was first to do an AMA on the Discord, so I'll read through the questions and answers for you. The first question was, what changes on the player end should we expect to see and when? Solid then responded with, what changes is actually we'll get stuff out to you faster and be a little bit more lean. I kind of wish Solid expanded a little bit here myself as to why things would get pushed faster, but there is just speculation on the reasoning there. The next question was, is there another content update planned before Founder Season 2? Now for those who don't know, Wayfinder originally has 2 Founder Seasons planned before the full launch of the game, when it goes free to play, which is when normal Season 1 begins. But Solid responded here saying this obviously impacts the entire roadmap, and we'll give an update on that soon. So the minute we know anything, we'll get that news out to you. The third question then was, will Airship Syndicate look for a new publisher? And Solid then responded with, we will, but we also operated the day-to-day for Wayfinder, so really not a ton changes for us or even you the player. And I think this is quite good news. I imagine Gearbox, Microsoft or Sony would look towards them here, but obviously that there could be other companies too, but until there's an official announcement made, we won't know. Then moving on to the next question, we have, when will the next open world map shine for us? Season 2 or Season 3? And will it bring mounts in the update? Here Solid responded to this with one of the things we are talking about is doing more faster. Maybe that means even some grey box or unfinished tiles in the new Lost Zones, only time will tell, but speed will be paramount. This response as a player does worry me a little bit because it comes across as implying that there is now a time limit to how much they need to push out to get 1.0 ready and start making money from the game, since you'll have to do a big marketing push to bring players in. Currently on Steam, the game holds around 500 to 1000 players on average, which just isn't enough of a player base to keep a game like this alive for the long term. I can't see the player base on PlayStation, but let's assume that it is around the same for this conversation. The game saw just under 25,000 players on Steam at launch of Founders Season 1, and will most likely have some of those players return when Founders Season 2 launches, and of course 1.0. But for the game to succeed in the long run, it is obvious that a marketing push will be needed. The next question is, since DE was handling the feature upvote, will you guys be looking into a new way to let us give feedback on the game? Here Solid responded with a simple yes. After that, someone then asked, what about handling servers? You guys plan on going peer-to-peer? And Solid said, no plans, we've always handled the servers, that doesn't change. DE handled accounts, queue and login. Solid then went on to answer questions about gameplay. The next question was, are daggers imbalanced or are other melee weapons just underperforming? And here Solid responded with, all melee is underperforming. Updates are coming, and I think with this one it's no surprise here as shotguns and rifles have been prevalent in the game for a while. Another question asked, is the guild system possibly affected? And Solid said, we'll obviously prioritize what makes sense to put out, but content that we had in the hopper doesn't just go away. And then the biggest news here is related to the next question. Would you say that Season 2 is still something we can expect late November or early December after these recent changes? And Solid responded with, Season 2 is definitely delayed at this point, but it doesn't mean content isn't coming. but what we would call Season 2 is. Then the last question that was asked was, will we likely see 5 or more Founder seasons? Free-to-play IMO should still be a priority, and Solid responded with, I don't know the answer to this, but we're prioritizing getting fast content out and being bold of changes. For me, this was a weird question as they only had 2 Founder seasons planned and a marketing push at the launch of Season 1, so to increase how many Founder seasons they have would then take content from those planned seasons for the launch of free-to-play and just doesn't make sense to do. But again, I guess this is just, we'll have to wait for news on that. Then up next was Snarf's turn to do an AMA on the Discord, and we have gotten a lot more information here as well. The first question was, are we getting the Affinity respec soon? And Snarf had responded with, this might be coming sooner than we were planning before. Obviously no promises on that, but it's on the more immediate docket. And then question number 2 was, how's the timeline coming for release? And Snarf responded with, the roadmap and timeline is more than likely adjusted. We'll still be working on consistent and meaningful balances, stabilization, bug fixes, and content. Then someone asked, wait, DE was slowing you guys down, which relates to the news that they can now get content out faster, and Snarf responded with, I wouldn't say that, they helped on a lot of fronts we were going to need to figure out now, but things will always go slower when there are multiple checks and balances. Then in Founders Season 2, a new Wayfinder named Grendel should be added to the game, and someone asked, is Grendel now delayed? Where Snarf responded saying, not necessarily, all the work on him is still moving forward as intended, so we might be seeing Grendel towards the end of December, taking into account the slight delays. Then the next question was, are other new Wayfinders on the way still? Here Snarf responded with, yes, we have a lot of new Wayfinders that will be continually added. The cadence may change, but ultimately we are in control of our own destiny at the moment, and we will do what we feel is best for the game and players. Then moving on to the next question, which is, have you ever thought about expanding the Skylight as DLC content? And Snarf said, live service, you can think of seasons as free DLCs. But the goal is to continually expand everything within the confines of the lore. Maybe even some additions to Skylight sooner than you think. Then they were also asked, is there any word on the UI update that is currently being worked on? And here Snarf responded with, we have lots of improvements on the dev branch. It's all about rolling them out safely and maintaining stability. Live service is like juggling chainsaws. Then the last main question asked was, would you consider a few changes on how we obtain/craft artifacts? And Snarf said, we do want there to be rare and meaningful chase items, but that said, we're open to evaluating and changing everything if it's not working the way we want. Even I have yet to get a boss artifact to drop. And there we have it, a number of amazing questions and answers on the future of Wayfinder. I'd like to quickly thank DamonLord54 for sharing these questions and answers to the Wayfinder subreddit, as this has helped a lot of us who missed the information in the Discord. And I do think some of these answers would have helped settle some of you down when it comes to worrying about the future of the game. And of course, we can only take their word on it for now, but I think the next few months of the game will be some of the biggest. Actions speak louder than words, and until 1.0 I think it is fair to say that will be a major point. But personally, I do have a lot of faith in Airship Syndicate as we'll continue to cover the game, because we want to see it succeed and become the best game it possibly can. Until then, however, I hope you're all having an amazing day, and I will see you again soon.